Hi, this is Tom Mura from World Class Coaching with another in our series of animated drills. This activity that I'll describe today, I described in podcast episode 169 at coachingsoccerweekly.com. So if you haven't seen that or heard that podcast, you can find it there. And it's a description of a change that I've made to all of my technical training activities involving passing and receiving. And the basic setup that you see oftentimes with a passing and receiving technical activity is where a player passes the ball to one player, follows their pass to the other side, which is fine because this format gives us a lot of repetition. It gives us the ability to watch the players and make sure they're performing the techniques correctly. The thing that it doesn't give us is it doesn't give us realistic movement of the players. How many times in a game would you pass the ball from one player to another and then follow that same pass, to the end of a line? That's just not going to happen. So what I've done is, and again, as I described in the podcast, I'm not saying that this is earth-shattering information or any new, maybe it's not even new to you, maybe it's something you've done before, but it's just something that I recognized was kind of a hole in my training and I wanted to correct it. And so what I've done is I've put cones to the outside of the line of passing. And so now when a player passes, we'll have the player pass this ball. The player passes to this other side. I want the player that passed the ball to make a run to the outside, as they would do in the game, passing it, going wide to either support the player. So you could imagine a situation where a player passes into a central midfield player and then opens up wide to receive the ball back. Just one scenario you can imagine. But then when this player receives it and then passes to the next player in line who has stepped up obviously in front of the cone, then that releases this player to run to the end of the line and make their finishing run, while this player runs to the outside here, awaiting the pass made by this player in order to pass the ball there and then follow their pass to the outside, and so on and so on. And so, that pattern continues. But the idea, really, the focus being that we want the player who passes the ball to make a run into a wide position after they make that pass, rather than just following their pass to the end of the line. So we're making the run part, that action, we're making it part of the activity. So it has a function within the activity to go wide and open up for the ball. So you can do that simply here with line passing. You can do the same if you're doing diamond passing. What I like to do with diamond passing to add a different run is I like to put a cone in the middle, and then all of the players come to the middle. They start here in the center, except we have one player with the ball start on the outside. And we have these players come to the middle as well. And now we'll do your traditional diamond passing pattern, but this player will open up to the outside. And what I'll do is I'll have the players number themselves 1 through 5, 1 through 6. Generally, I don't go above 6 in a group. Otherwise, I'll just make another diamond. And then this player passes to the outside and this player sprints to the middle. Now, when that player goes and opens up, this next player times their run so that as this second player receives the ball, then they're making their run to the outside. And I would go farther than this, obviously, in a normal activity. I'm just kind of running out of real estate there. And so making that pass, and then this player runs back to the middle. And as they receive that ball, the next player runs out wide. Obviously, they would open their body, flip their hips in order to receive the ball and then pass it the other direction. So that's just a way of adding a different run. So that player opens up to receive the ball. This player, after they pass it, they run through to the middle. Now they're not going to receive the ball, but I'll talk to the players about making that run hard and fast and calling for the ball as they would receive it in the game, as they might have a chance to receive it in the game. So that's the movement pattern I would use with diamond passing. Now, my favorite way to use this is with square passing. So forgive my cone placement here. I'm just going to try to eyeball this. If I was doing this on a field, I'd have the cones evenly spaced apart, whether it be a 6, 8, or 10-yard square. But the key here is the same no matter what, is that I've got a square, and now the players are going to be organized on the outside of this square. We'll bring the extra players over to this side. We'll have the players start here. And what we'll have, actually I'll have to move one player here. So I'm just going to get rid of that player and give us a player that's facing the game a little bit. So this player's here. So now what we're going to have is we're going to have this player pass the ball wide or down the line, if you will, in this kind of setup. Now this player is going to run to the middle. After the second player receives the ball, just move him out of the way of the ball here, this player will open up to receive it and will pass it down the line, and that'll be the trigger for this player to run wide. And that'll be then after this player releases the ball, they run to the middle. So you can see how that pattern would continue. Pass it wide, then run to the middle. And so we continue that on the outside. The next progression of this, and I've gone ahead and set it up. When I first do this, I'd only have this center cone. I wouldn't have these other four on the outside just because I don't want to confuse it. But the next progression would be to have the player pass down the line. And now this player can choose. They can run to the middle or they can run wide, just as they would do in the game. Perhaps they would run through to receive the ball through the middle. Perhaps they would run wide to support the ball or receive it on the outside. Now this next player, let's say that they run to the middle. They take up that spot. Now this player passes the ball down the line and they would run. Now it obviously, at the beginning, I just let the players do what they want to do, but the run that makes the most sense is this run wide, because now we have a player in the middle and a player there. Even though this player, as soon as the ball is released, is going to take up the spot on the outside, I still want that player recognizing where the space is. Now when this player receives it, they're going to pass it down the line to this player who's opened up. And now this third player obviously has the choice because there's nobody there. They can make the run into the middle or they can make the run wide. Okay, so that continues. And so it's getting the players to make some decisions now around their movements. The very last pattern that I would do is that I would allow the player with the ball to make their choice about where they pass it. So this player receives it here, they make their run. Now, player number 2 here can just go ahead and pass down the line as they would before, and this player will open up to receive it. Or player number 2 can pass it inside to the player who's supported in the middle. And then this player can choose to pass it there, or they can hit the player making a run for a little give and go over distance there, obviously. All right. If the player ran to the outside instead of to the middle, then the player who receives the ball here could choose to either, like I said before, either pass it and keep it going down the line, or they could lay the ball off. Now this player, the pass that makes the most sense for this player is a diagonal ball through. So now what we're doing is we're giving the player that's passing the ball an option as well. So now we've got decisions being made about their movement, decisions being made about their passing. The final kind of progression to this would be to remove the cones and just ask the players to make their runs based on the spaces and not on any landmarks, any targets that are on the field. So I would usually keep the orange cones here to represent defenders. This is ideal if you have mannequins. Most of us don't have that luxury. If you don't have mannequins, then you have to use, any space holder that you can. But now this player will open up, receive the ball. This player will either run wide or into the middle, depending on where they see the space and where they want to run. And the pattern continues. So you've got a nice progression there going from line passing through diamond passing into square passing that gives the players opportunities to move after the pass as they would in the game. So I hope this describes it well for the people that listen to the podcast. If you want to hear a more in-depth description of that, just kind of the methodology behind it and the reasoning behind it and some of my experience using it with my teams, you can go listen to episode 169 of the podcast. Or if you're listen to the podcast and you're looking for the detailed kind of diagram of it, well, I hope this helps as well. So give this a try with your teams. In the comment section below, I'd love to hear how you incorporate movement with your technical training activities. If it's something similar to this or totally different, I'd love to hear about it. So please leave it there.